All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for popping on live with me. I see people in the chat are already saying where they're from. Thank you so much for doing that and getting the chat going. Whether you're watching me on the Adobe site, YouTube, or Behance, welcome. We've had a delightful week so far, learning about all the different ways you can incorporate Express into your workflow across other Adobe products. And today is going to be no different. I will be talking about Premiere Pro and Express. So another thing though, I can only see the chat that is on adobe.com. So if you think you're going to have questions for me, make sure to hop over to that chat. If you're on Behance and YouTube, again, happy to have you, but I can't see those chats. So without further ado, let me introduce myself and we can go ahead and show my screen. I am Police Narvaez. I am a video producer and digital storyteller, currently based in Texas. I run the production company Stumblewell. It's a creative production company focusing on original, scripted, and unscripted content. We do things like, typical client content videos. We do scripted web series, short films. We've worked with some pretty nice brands as well. We've worked with PBS, Google, YouTube, Adobe, and Target, to name a few. So when I'm not running this production company, I'm also just being a content creator and YouTuber. And I think that's really going to be what the focus of this live will be, is how to utilize Express as a content creator within your platform sort of ecosystem. So if you haven't already, make sure to head over to the Adobe Express Bootcamp site so that way you can download my assets, and also you can see who else will be joining us later in the week. We have Andre and Katrina coming on Thursday and Friday. They're going to be delightful. Katrina's a beast. Andre's amazing. Make sure to get into it. And then also make sure to check the replays as well for the other lives that have happened already this week. So we only have about 30 minutes. So let's really get going, okay? So here we have my Premiere Pro project, and I'm coming to you now not as a production company runner owner, but just as a content creator. I have run YouTube channels for entities in the past, but this is how I do my own personal content on my own personal YouTube channel. So this is a video that just went live on my channel maybe a week or two ago. I like to make these sort of moody documentary style vlogs where I'll be doing something very simple like building a standing desk, but talking about why I bought that desk, aging, time is wild, what is life, that sort of thing. So here's that finished video. It is completely done. And you'll see here, I have some other sequences in my timeline. So whenever I'm editing a video that I know is going to go on my channel, I always like to also, as I'm doing that, create separate sequences where I'll put sections of that finished video that I think could work well across social media, that essentially I want to figure out how to repurpose. If you're a content creator, you know it's all about trying to stretch the content you produce as much as possible. And so that's what I like to do. So I have this clip, which is essentially just the intro to the original video. And then I also have this clip that I actually already finished and posted. You've probably seen it if you do follow me on social media, on Instagram and YouTube Shorts, where I've already created some clips, and I actually filmed a little bit of extra content to go into this as well, because I realized I could make its own little standalone piece. So for today, what I'm going to do is I'm essentially going to show you how I turned this original horizontal, original YouTube intro, how I turned this into a 9:16 and also added some different overlays on top. And I think overlays, with building them in Express, can be a really great way to just add that little razzle snazzle to your content creation and kind of update and give just more breath to your overall production value with very low lift. You don't need to know Photoshop, you don't need to know Illustrator. And also, if Premiere's motion graphics templates just kind of scare you a little bit, then hang out in Express. You already have it available to you if you have a full Creative Cloud account. So just to get things going, I'm going to play this. It's only a minute, so you can kind of see what we'll end up landing on. Being in your 30s is weird, man. You're not officially old yet, but you're not young either. You've lived long enough to have some formidable experiences and learn from them, but it still feels like you've yet to settle into existing. Hopefully, the work you put in during your teens and 20s paid off in some way, but if you're anything like me, you've questioned what it was all for at least a few times at this point. I guess the weirdest thing about being in your 30s is that mentally, you don't feel it. At least I don't. In my head, I still feel like I'm in my early 20s. But my body, though? My body is making sure to remind me constantly, girl, you is 32, act accordingly, babe. All right, so that was our intro. And I think you could also have this be, a standalone piece of content that maybe goes on Instagram and you talk a little bit more about the aging process, have a nice, caption, or again, you can promote your longer form video and try to get people to head over there. So I'm going to show you now how we're going to get to more or less this by the end of the live. That's the goal. And we're going to start here. Again, all I did was as I was editing, I took the pieces of the content that I knew I wanted to use and just threw them into another sequence, didn't change sequence settings, anything like that. Something that I feel that people are starting to utilize more within Premiere Pro, but not quite so much, is the auto reframe feature. And for those of y'all who don't know about auto reframe, built into Premiere, you can actually take any sequence and click this setting and have it auto reframe it to be the correct size that you want. So easily taking content that's 16 by 9 and, for example, turning it into 9 by 16. And with the power of Adobe Sensei, it does a pretty good job. Okay, it's still working. Every time they revamp Premiere, it gets better and better. But it does a pretty good job of actually tracking you in the shot to try to make it work within your new reframed sizing. So you'll see how it does it okay in some instances and how it doesn't, not so okay, but that's all right, because either way, it's going to save us a ton of time. So I'm going to click on the content I'm using right now. So this is Premiere Clip 1. I have it highlighted now. I'm going to right click on it, and then I'm going to go to Auto Reframe Sequence. That's going to bring up a new bounding box for us with some options for us to play around with. So sequence name, I'm going to go ahead and leave that the same. If you were wanting to rename things, that's where you would do that. As you can see, I use this a lot, so it's already on the aspect ratio I want, which is vertical 9 by 16. I'm going to leave the motion tracking to default and then clip nesting. Now, I know this confuses a lot of content creators and just people in the platform. In general, if you're doing what I'm about to do, turning your original horizontal content into vertical, I would say don't nest clips is going to be your best option. But if you've got some free time, play around with nesting clips so you can see what those differences are. And then we're going to hit create. And now it's going to start to take its best guess of analyzing each of the shots and using the power of Adobe Sensei, like kind of try to follow us around. So let's see what it did. I'm going to go ahead and just solo and empty tracks because we don't need to hear the audio anymore. We know what it's about. All right, so you see how it's more or less clocked in on Bay, clocked in on my husband, sitting there working. And as I come into frame, it's kind of, it's going to adjust and try to find us. So it's not doing it the best there, but then let's see how it does with me putting my shoes on. Okay, pretty good. And we're completely in a vertical workspace now. It has taken my 4K footage and put it into a vertical space, trying to make it as best as it can. And once I leave, you'll probably see with the car scene, I potentially shot that car scene to be, for a horizontal space, right? So it's just having a hard time to figure out what to choose, which is fine. Either way, it has saved us a lot of time. So really quickly, you'll remember in the original sample I just showed that what I did here was I actually just made it horizontal and like tripled it up. you know? So, and I really like doing that with content that I purposely shoot with, you know, a cinematic eye or just, you know, a wider frame in mind. If I want to turn that content into vertical, I just double or triple it up and just put it in the frame a lot of times. That's really easy to do in Premiere. You're going to hit just the Option key, which I believe Option for Mac and PC. I want to say it's the same thing, but you're going to hold down Option, click and drag, and it just duplicates that clip again above it. And I'm gonna do it one more time. And now I have 3 of the same identical clip, okay? Then starting from the top, I'm gonna make sure my effects controls are highlighted, and you'll see here's where auto reframe has done whatever it wanted to do with trying to adjust the frame to work. We're just gonna turn it off. And you'll see now, because my clip is in 4K, it's like crazy zoomed in. But now we have access again to our motion assets that we can now mess with. In my original video, I did some, you know, simple Ken Burns zooming in just to add some effects. We're going to turn those off, and we're just going to eyeball it. And we're just going to scoot it up to the top here, and we're going to redo that now for the rest of the clips. And also, while I'm doing this, shout out to our moderators in the chat who are answering questions if I can't for sure get to them in time. Thank you so much, y'all. All right, so I'm on the second clip, zooming it in, or zooming it down, in, scaling it down. That's the right way to say that. And then we're going to do it for this very last one. Again, just turning off what auto reframe was doing, getting rid of the original things I did, and then scaling down. One tip that I find that people forget about is if you hit motion, you'll notice it'll show you the bounding box of the video clip that you're working in, which can be helpful for just like, if you're like me and you like to eyeball things a lot, which, you know, I probably shouldn't. I should probably be more exact, but I like eyeballing things. So just remember to hit motion and it'll bring around a blue bounding box. You can just like see where the edges of the frame are a little bit better. All right, so now we have our frame just tripled up. Super easy, right? Not too complicated. Let's see, there is a couple other places. This whole section works. Auto reframe did a good job on that. I don't really feel the need to adjust anything there. The car scene. All right, so this doesn't work because, you know, it's pretty dark in the car. And so it's just hard for auto reframe to see like what is even happening. So again, we're going to do the same thing, hold down Option, or I believe, I can't remember what the correct one is for a PC, but Option for Mac, I don't know what the PC equivalent is. And then we're just going to drag and drop it up. Oops. And do that 3 times. We're going to make sure they're lined up. We're going to make sure they're snapping. Are we on? Are we lined up? I feel like we're not. We're not. Yeah, we're going to zoom in. Make sure we're, there we go, perfectly aligned. To zoom in, I just hit the plus and minus keys on the keyboard, by the way, really helpful shortcut. All right, and then the same thing again, just really quick, auto reframe, turn that off, scale it down, turn on our motion so we can see that again. And we're not going to be super like crazy epic about this because at the end of the day, this is for social media. We want to have an air of like good production value, obviously, but we also want to move. Like we don't want this to take too long. Last time, turning off auto reframe, turning on our bounding box so we can see better. A little bit more. Boop. Come on now. There we go. Drop it down. Good enough. You know what I'm saying? Good enough. And then the last thing I did it with was obviously with the outro, because yeah, my channel opener is completely designed for a horizontal space. So we're just gonna do it for the opener like really quick because, ooh, we are already getting into time. Okay, so we need to move a little bit faster. I'll go super quick on this one for y'all. All right, last one. Cool. Okay, so if we wanted to move on and just export this without any of those overlays, we could. Like, I don't think this is terrible per se. I don't think it's bad. But again, we're always trying to like up our production value with like as low lift as humanly possible. So now let's hop into Express and see what we can create relatively quickly. So again, here is the updated template that I made that y'all can check out and utilize. I'm purposely not going to touch this one because it is linked to my account and I don't want to mess it up for y'all to download later. But here's a, a backup one I made as well. And you can see I added just like some very simple lines to break up our try video footage link that we have there. We have our original little graphic that I created as well. And then we also have a blank one here. And I'm just going to show you like super quickly how you can create very simple overlays and just add just that much more value to your video production. So if I head over to shapes here and I click in the top, you'll see we can like type in most of the social media platforms that are available to us now. So for example, TikTok, let's type it in, see what we get. Boom, we have the TikTok logo ready. We don't have to go to Google and then try to find a PNG version of the TikTok logo and then throw it into Photoshop and get rid of it, all that kind of stuff. We don't have to do that. It's all just here already. So I'm gonna go ahead and click it and add it. You'll notice when I click and I added, it's already a different color than what the shape was. And that's because when I was designing this template, as I was picking random colors, Express actually started to put together a rough color palette for me. So again, taking the design frustrations and like difficulties, like I'm a video producer, I'm not necessarily a designer, but taking that step away and making it easier for me to just begin to work. So now I can pick whatever colors within my color palette that I've established. And again, I didn't design this color palette, Express did. But I can pick what I like and then really easy, just dragging and dropping, put it where I want it. And then let's do one that we all know. YouTube's my bread and butter as a content creator. So I'm going to type YouTube in. And of course, YouTube logos abound with this because it's a very simple logo. So I'll go ahead and just pick this one. Perfect. It's already, again, in the color palette that we designed. I'm just going to scoot it down, boop. Okay, love that. Let's add some text. Really easy. So I went over to the text tool here in the corner. As you can see, again, a lot of templates from you to choose from that you can add. But I'm just going to do add your text. And I'm just going to start to like type in the handles that I want people to know about. So @Halise is the TikTok one. And I'm just going to shrink it down. And I'm just, again, y'all, I'm just like eyeballing all of this. I'm not going ham at all. One more. Do the same thing again @Halise. And if I were being like as good as I should be, I would make sure they're the same size and all those kind of design stuff. I'm sure Andrew is in our chat being like, oh my God, I'm dying that she's not making things the same size. But nevertheless, super easy. And something else I want to bring to your attention too is that these font recommendations here in the corner, again, taking the design elements away and like just giving you just options of what it thinks will work, I think is just really cool because some of these fonts are like not bad, you know what I'm saying? So make sure to check out all of just the different things that are available to you. Now, one thing I am going to do with our text is, since I know what this is going to go on top of, I'm going to go ahead and make our text white, which will make it hard to see while we're still here. But just so I make sure I get it right on the export, we're going to turn them white. So just know that they're there. Now, let's say we want to just be like a little more like cute with it. You know what I'm saying? We want to do something like something I enjoy doing in Express is just typing in a random shape. So circle, and just seeing what shows up here to just like play around with and incorporate to make it seem like I knew what I was doing as a design person, but do I not really winging it like the rest of y'all? You know what I'm saying? So let's see which one. I mean, this is kind of interesting. I don't know. What does that look like? Oh, all right. So let's like have this in the corner here. Obviously, it's going to be on top of our text. So all we're going to do is just take that layer, drag it to be below it. Boom. Okay. Now, obviously, if I was being like a bit more epic about everything, I would probably take the time to maybe change the color, just make sure everything's like really looking like how we want it to look. But in the span of like 2 minutes, I've made a pretty decent looking thing, you know? So let's go ahead and download it and add it to our project pretty quickly because we are getting into time. So one thing I want to make sure y'all know about when you're exporting any of these sort of like overlay ideas that you produce in Express, make sure that you have PNG transparent background selected. Because if you don't, then it's going to export with this white. And that's not what we want because we want to see the video happening underneath. So make sure to export PNG transparent background. I'm going to do all pages so that way I get everything that is in this specific one that I have. And we're going to hit start download. And then I'm going to figure out wherever I want to save it. We're going to put it to the desktop. Y'all can see how delightfully messy my desktop is because the creative mind, am I right? We're going to call this live and hit save. Cool. So now I am going to unzip it because when you do have multiple pages, it saves it as a zip for you. And I'm doing that on my other screen. And now we're going to hop back into Premiere. And as I'm going along, if you have any questions, make sure you're throwing them in the chat so that way the moderators or myself can hopefully get to them if we have a few minutes at the end of the stream. So I'm just scooting up. These are my adjustment layers that I made, to help with color and all that kind of stuff. Just scooting those up and out of the way. Let's now throw our overlay just straight, I'm not even going to be organized about this, just straight into there. Now, when I designed this vertical in Express, I designed it to be vertical 4K because I shoot in 4K. But Adobe or Premiere, when it does auto reframe, it's a smaller thing. So we're just going to go in here and just like zoom out a little bit. Now, again, y'all see my design eye is hilariously not that great because readability is an issue here. But the overall idea, I believe, has been accomplished, right? We have created a very simple overlay that looks it looks pretty good. Okay. If I do say so myself, making it in about 60 seconds looks pretty good. So let's throw in the one that y'all are gonna get to mess with as well. Cool. So this one I actually took some time to make sure readability was not an issue for this one. But as you can see, it just goes on top of the footage. We add that much more value, overall production value. And finally, with our backup one, or with our try one, let's throw that one in over the top here. And let's see, if again, it's in 4K, so we need to make some adjustments. And we'll probably need to adjust the framing of our video as well because we were doing what? We were eyeballing it. So let's go ahead and scoot up our top one there. And I'm just making like super minor adjustments. All right, so this one needs to get blown up a little bit bigger. And then, you end up using the guide you created as truly that, a guide to design however you want it to be. Boom. And so again, did we need these overlays? I mean, we didn't need them, right? Nobody need it. But I think overall, it just adds a nice production value to the piece. So if we go ahead and go full screen, and if you're someone who's also trying to up your production value and also try to like reinforce your brand, think about this as another way to do that. Do you have a specific color palette? Start to think about ways that you can incorporate that into your workflow to reinforce the brand and everything you got going. Oh my gosh, design people in the comments are gonna be so mad about that overlay, but y'all get the point. Y'all know what I'm doing. If there's any lingering questions in the chat, please let me know. But let's recap everything we've done today real quick. So we took a longer form YouTube video. That we already knew we liked. And as we were editing, we created promo clips that we knew we would maybe turn into something else. So we're, again, always trying to stretch our content as long as we possibly can, right? Then we turned one of those promo clips into a auto reframed sequence and let Premiere take its best guess at reframing it to how we want, knowing full well that it's not going to get every shot right because we did shoot this with a horizontal mindset. Then we hopped over into Express to quickly create some overlays to reinforce our brand, or maybe try to get others to like, share, and subscribe and follow across other platforms. And we did that pretty seamlessly with little to no frustration. We made sure to download PNG transparent background. Again, I see that happening a lot in the community. People are like, why is it just white? PNG transparent background. And we ended up doing all pages so that way we could have everything we designed. And Express ended up busting out for us a zip file that we were then able to unzip with each page that we had created as its own separate PNG, which is awesome. We then hopped back into Premiere and in a very unorganized in a very unorganized way, as an editor, I did that in a very unorganized way, dropped it into the project and immediately started working with it. So now all that's left to do would be to export. And that is what's so great about working with Express. Hopefully I've given you some food for thought of how to incorporate Express into your workflow. Again, as we're getting towards the end of our live, make sure to check in on the rest of the people coming up for the rest of the week. Andre is going to be tomorrow, same time, and he's going to go over Lightroom. And Andre is an amazing photographer and another former Adobe Creative resident as well, like myself. And then Katrina as well, she is going to show you how to do more content creation and Express too. And she is a content beast. Y'all don't even know. She's wild, man. So make sure to check back in. And again, you can also check out the replays. You can watch Andrew's replay. And I believe, yes, you can watch Ramirez's replay as well. So yeah, thank you so much for hopping in. I really appreciate it. I'm not sure if we have any questions in the chat. Hopefully our amazing moderators were able to answer them because I realized I was full blown in what we needed to do. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. Again, make sure to check out everyone for the rest of the week, and I'll see you when I see you. Thanks for joining live, guys.